Well, y'all, welcome back to another episode of Roll the Bomb. I'm your host, Zach Moore. We're here to talk about more NASCAR news and content, so let's roll. First thing, Stewart-Haas Racing is expecting to lay off 323 people from their team. It'll start on November 11th, a day after the NASCAR Cup Series, and be effective December 31st. And this all has to do with the shutdown of Stewart-Haas Racing back in May. They announced the team shutting down. They're keeping one charter, though, and it'll be the Haas factory team. There's not much to take from this. It just really stinks for those employees. 323 people will have to find new jobs. I assume there's a lot of smart people there, so I assume a lot of them will end up going to another team in the sport. I assume not everyone will be able to find another job with another team, so some of them will have to go and find other jobs, and not in racing. To me, the crazy thing about all this is like the fact that a four-car team, Stewart-Haas, was once a powerhouse, everything going right. And now a four-car team is shutting down completely. I'm not really sure who you blame. I think there's a lot of elements, a lot of people involved. You know, sponsorship wasn't coming in. A lot of the drivers maybe didn't bring in a bunch. The owners, Gene Haas. Gene Haas still looks like he's invested in NASCAR. They are going to keep one of the charters and start Haas factory team. But Tony Stewart, to me, he seemed like he was never really around. Only time you were talking to Tony was during a phone call or something. To me, it seemed like Tony was more invested in running a drag racing team with his wife than he was trying to run this four-car NASCAR team. Now, if anyone could do that, I would always consider Tony Stewart. I mean, a world-class talent, seems like a really smart businessman, but I do look at a big blame towards him. And I know Tony has said that he's not the person that makes the cars go faster, but I do feel like when the owner's around, it's a better vibes in the shop. He's able to see and observe what's going on, and maybe there's something that he doesn't like, he can fix it as the owner, because he's in charge, but he's not around to see all that. And it also seems like Ford wasn't giving it that much of support, but also I don't know if that's true because they are re-signing with Ford at Haas factory team, and it seems like they're going to be getting a lot of support from them, so I'm not sure about that one though. And I really just hope the people that are affected by this are able to find new jobs and be able to provide for themselves and their family. This weekend at Daytona International Speedway, Leah Diffey will call his first race as the play-by-play for the NASCAR Cup Series. Looking forward to it. This was already announced a long time ago. He's stepping away from the IndyCar booth. IndyCar's losing their media rights deal, their TV deal, to Fox next year. So I guess they're working on that transitioning. I'm not sure if Leah Diffey will be the play-by-play for the future going into next year for the NASCAR Cup Series, but he will be for Daytona and for the rest of the season. Rick Allen, who was the current play-by-play, will be moving to the play-by-play for the NASCAR Xfinity Series for the rest of the season. Also, for the CW when the CW takes over during the NASCAR Xfinity Series playoffs. Look, man, I really enjoy Leah Diffey a lot. He's really entertaining. He's really, really good. He brings a lot of energy. He gives me those F1 play-by-play vibes. He's really, really good, entertaining. He keeps you really engaged. You ever listen to Leah Diffey's play-by-play for the Indy 500? It's super, super entertaining. And this is not the first time Leah Diffey has been the play-by-play for the NASCAR Cup Series. I believe back in 2017, he did a couple races there, and he was really entertaining there. So I'm pretty pumped up to listen to his voice for the next 12 weeks of the NASCAR Cup Series season. Looking forward to it. And here's a little clip from Leah Diffey during the Indy 500.
Run off turn 2. Joseph Newgarden has never won the Indianapolis 500, and he's ahead on this last lap. Joseph Newgarden, is this the moment when the pain ends?
By one.
The drought, is it over for Joseph Newgarden, or does Marcus Ericsson have something?
By 2.
Team Penske at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and Joseph Newgarden finally wins the Indianapolis 500.
Next thing I want to talk to, I was scrolling through X on my phone, and all of a sudden I saw this post from @NASCAR on Reddit, and they posted about and showed Alan Bestwick is following Prime on Sports on Instagram. So after I saw that, I went and did it myself and scrolled to make sure that that is true, and it is true that he is following Sports on Prime. Now look, he is a commentator, and a lot of people are wondering, does this mean that Alan Bestwick will be coming over and being a play-by-play for NASCAR on Prime, as Prime will be having 5 races next year? That's NASCAR's new TV deal for the next 7 years. I remember listening to Alan Bestwick back in 2013, 2014 when he was a play-by-play for NASCAR on ESPN. Near the end of ESPN's run with NASCAR as a TV partner, he was most recently the play-by-play announcer for the SRX races on ESPN last year for Thursday Night Thunder. I think he's still the current PA announcer for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, at least for the Indy 500 in the NASCAR race. And look, this may not mean anything, but I have heard that Dale Earnhardt Jr. is pretty much in charge of, he's kind of the leader of getting this broadcast right. He looks like he can choose whoever he wants. He's going to have a big say on how everything runs. And that's the thing I love about Dale Earnhardt Jr. Even though he's done driving, he's still probably the biggest NASCAR advocate we have in the sport today. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he comes up with. He's broadcasting 5 prime races and then an additional 5 races on TNT. And if Alan Bestwick is a part of that plan, that's going to be pretty sick. Last thing I want to talk about, Jeff Gluck posted this link to this poll called the Solitary Bliss. It was a poll titled Professional Physical Feats Everyday Americans Think They Can Do. Now, it's not specific about how many people voted on this poll, but 6% of average Americans think they can win a NASCAR race. Are you freaking serious? There's dudes that have been doing this their entire life and still can't win a NASCAR race. Now there's dudes out here that think they can win a NASCAR race. I mean, first we gotta realize, do they know how to freaking put the thing in first gear? What about restarts, pit stops? What about, like, not crashing your car? What about trying to pass a car? I mean, I'll give you a chance, maybe at Daytona, Talladega, Atlanta, places you don't have to use, like, the brake or let off the gas. You can have the best car. I can give you a car that has more horsepower. He'll just have to handle that. Do they even know what it means to be tight versus loose in a race car? I don't think they probably do. People that believe that are freaking crazy. But the number one thing on this list that average Americans think they can do is run 1 lap around a racetrack without crashing. Now, it's not specific what speed. If we're talking about top-notch speed, max potential, qualifying lap type potential, impossible. No freaking way. Maybe like a Talladega, Daytona, Atlanta's your best chance because you don't have to worry about getting off the gas. But that'll be too fast, too much power for those people to ever experience. Because we're talking about an average American. So he's probably just jumping in this race car for the first time. Anything outside of that, a track where you have to, like, use the brake or let off the gas or, like, slow the car down to make the turn. No freaking way. You're crashing, dude. You're crashing. It's crazy that people think that they can actually do that. It's probably because it looks so easy. And they think all it is just turning left and hold the wheel there. But it's so much more than that, man. But look, I have never experienced what it's like to drive a race car to full potential. So I can't tell you what it's like. But here's Carson Hocevar ripping around Martinsville Speedway. That's a wrap with today's episode. Hope you all enjoyed. Besides that, goodbye.